All right, welcome back to the Geek and Drink podcast. My name is Joe. I'm here with Justin and Adam. We're your geeky crew of drinking fellas. And this week we're talking about Batman villains, specifically the 4 types of Batman villain. And then also we're going to get into real-life villains, where they would fall into the Batman canon. And finally, maybe a little special scenario situation. But first, let's just dive right into this and start talking about these 4 types of Batman villains. And I think we narrowed it down to ones that are inspired by greed. There's also the misguided villain. There's the villain who wants nothing but chaos. And then finally, the villain who's all about superiority, trying to prove to everybody that they're the best. So start this off with greed. Adam, tell me about who you think best exemplifies this greed character.
I picked Killer Croc. Just because he's one of my favorite goofy villains.
Also one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I don't find him to be that goofy. I find him to be a bit tragic, and I have him somewhere else on the list.
Right, but yeah, all right. So why is he your greed guy?
Because with his origins in the wrestling thing and how he eventually starts his life of crime and intercepts the Caped Crusader and everything, he always seems to be motivated by, okay, how can I come out on top? The whole arc with him in the Hush storyline focuses around him basically being okay with being extra mutated for the money. Obviously, things go wrong because he's often depicted as not too bright and easily to trick, but he's always seemed very motivated by him and his own luxury. Now, I could probably guess where you're going with not that goofy of a character. I've always loved his depiction in the animated series. I've always enjoyed his lack of wits, and I think that actually plays up his greedy type nature.
Sure.
I will agree, a bit tragic. I think the way he often responds to that is, well, then the world owes me. And I think that's
But
where...
who doesn't?
Right.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up the Hush series, because I think that lends to another idea is, which origin do you want to go with? Because just about every one of these villains has 3 or 4 of them.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. Are you
Right,
a new
yeah.
52 fan? Well, then here's a different story you can go with. Are
Exactly,
you,
yeah.
there's so many offshoots, but when it comes to greed, I think anyone can pick one of the lower level crime bosses that are always, Batman shows up, they're
Sure.
trying to heist a truck, bada bing, bada boom, he dispatches your whole crew. I'm going to take it a similar direction, but a little different, and I'm going to go with Man-Bat for greed.
Nice.
Man-Bat.
And here's
Okay.
why. It's not a financial greed. See, the Man-Bat origin, Dr. Kurt Langstrom, and it's funny how many of these people are doctors.
Oh, yes.
Apparently in Gotham City, they just hand these out to any insane person. He's trying to find a cure for deafness, because he is going deaf. So, not satisfied with his position in life, he gets greedy. And he decides he's going to mutate his own genes, and what do we have? The Man-Bat.
The Man-Bat, yeah.
So, like every doctor does, he goes forward with that. Not satisfied with going deaf, he gets greedy. So the moral of the story is, kids, when you're not satisfied and you push for more and more and more, you will turn into a monster.
Right.
I think the
See,
moral of the story is, don't become a doctor.
I value the opinions of the both of you for these 2 characters.
you're morons.
However, well, here's the thing. Both of these characters
Some
that
of
you...
you morons.
Some of the, both of these characters that you've chosen to exemplify greed, yes, they do get greedy, but it's after, some kind of circumstance happens to them. They're on the right track, and then something goes the wrong way, and they get worse and worse, So to me, that's more of a misguided thing. But for me, the whole idea of greed is just, you're all about the money or, the power, all this other
The
stuff.
Benjamins is what the kids like
the
to say.
Benjamins,
Yeah, yeah.
and I
So
think
I've heard
that
on the streets.
yeah, I think that idea of greed and just all about the money, the heist, the how to get as much as you can. I think that comes down to almost like your mercenary characters. I think it comes down to your guys that are just worried about the buck, getting paid, doing the job, and getting out and gathering as much as they can before they finally get out of the game. And for me, that's got to be Deadshot. He's a merc. He's making money, snapping necks, cashing checks, and trying to make as much as he can and get as much cash as he can.
If I were to go with a popular Batman merc, that would be the one I'd pick for that category. However, I have another one in another area.
It's just gonna be your response to all of these, isn't it?
And I think that's something to touch on real quick. not all of these characters are going to be specifically to one type of thing.
No, in
really.
fact, most of these
They have
depending on your
crossover,
definition,
but
wouldn't they all fall under misguided? They're
Right,
criminal.
yeah.
To be fair,
And
Batman
they-
dresses up in a costume and goes out. Isn't he also misguided? Doesn't Batman have a bit of a superiority thing going on? Isn't there a little chaos in the man's life?
Oh, yeah.
And he owns
Especially
Wayne
towards the
Industries.
end, yeah.
Can't tell me greed doesn't play into a little bit
Right.
of his fun and toys.
Before we leave the greed section, we were talking about the high level of villains that have graduate level degrees.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to just mention a small anecdote. A friend from college, when we were all both studying to be mad scientists, apparently, that there must be this extra degree program in comic book universe in omniscience. Because Kurt Langstrom, let's assume he's a biologist, but guaranteed, anytime you would go to him with any science question, a physics question, a geology question, he would have the answer because he's a scientist, so he knows all
All
science.
sciences, yeah.
So every science in a comic book is an omniscientist.
Let's say I have studied animal DNA. Clearly, I'm a geneticist. Clearly, I can alter my own DNA.
Yeah.
Clearly.
They've got to be
Simple.
close enough.
Something I'll do on the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Was
it's
it?
just a hobby.
I probably had a kid born with some sort of defect. No problem.
no problem. I'll go
It
to the
just
lab.
So happens I studied the animal
I'm working
that can
on
solve
this
that
one
defect.
thing. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even have to refer to another colleague.
Nope. In fact, better if I don't.
Better if
It'll
I
be
don't.
Such a big surprise. When I
I'd
eat
rather
their
they
face.
discovered my reptilian body in the
Yes,
lab.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, I'm just going to go in on the weekend, inject myself as a test subject because, the rat seems fine.
Yeah, and apparently nobody saw the 1950s version of The Fly. so.
All right. Well, so we've discussed greed. Let's move on to our next type of Batman type villain, the misguided villain. Someone who might have the best interests at heart, but it takes a dramatic turn. So, Justin,
Well-
who's your misguided character?
Adam already talked about Killer Croc. I put him under the misguided arena, and that is because I went for a different backstory. My personal favorite is the one of the young man born with a disorder that gives him scaly skin. He has an aunt who ridicules him and beats him to the point where he is driven to murder, which I think we can all understand. We've all had that aunt. So from that point, he is put into a circus freak show. That can't be good for the old ego. So what I think we have here is a product of his environment. I mean, he's beat on. He's made into a freak, and in turn, he follows suit. He's a strapping young man who finds the ability to crush someone's skulls with his bare hands something he can do.
As you do.
I guess my thing is, if you're a social outcast, you look like a reptile, you've been ridiculed your whole life, you were brought up in a freak show, and you now live in a sewer, which is my confusion over the greed one. The guy lives in a sewer. How greedy could he be?
Right. He's kind of like the Phantom of the Opera.
He's a sad. I think he's a sad character.
He's a sad character.
I
yeah.
feel bad for him. And then there's the idea that he eats human flesh. That I'm not sure how that plays into that. That one's just messed up.
Well, if he goes to
that's cool.
Popeyes for a 2-piece and a biscuit, people are going to start start looking.
He's gonna look soft. So
Gotta keep
no,
your street
I
cred.
think Killer Croc's a great character. I think you need a muscle head. I think you need Bane's a great character because he can outthink Batman and on many occasions outfight Batman.
Right.
Right.
That's what makes him truly dangerous. Killer Croc is just he might rip your arms off. He might do that, and then he will probably eat them.
Sure.
So that's terrifying. And I love the fact that when he's at his most dangerous is when he's in his element, when he is in the sewer systems. That makes him really an interesting character.
But I took a slightly different approach on it. I was working with the trying to make the world a better place through some twisted logic.
Okay.
Sure.
It's easy to be misguided. It's always more intriguing when you've misguided yourself.
This is where I was originally going, and I think I like where you're going.
And so there's a couple big names that especially in the Batman mythos that you could use. But I gotta go with Mr. Freeze because I love the way he's often treated.
You talk about goofy characters. Someone who can be presented in a very goofy way.
Could be.
but his backstory is very
Right.
Yeah. Well, and there again, you talk about multiple versions of this character. I think in almost all of them, there is some sense of a misguided nature. One of the things that really gets under my skin is when characters that have deep motivations and complex characters, like Mr. Freeze, are mistreated as just the knockoff villains.
Sure.
Right.
And
Thank you, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
so, and so it was his backstory was revamped to be the whole thing. He was trying to find a cure for his wife and whatnot, and of course that touched us all. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger brought some humanity,
Some
to
kind
that
of life.
character.
His frozen tears.
Even Schwarzenegger could do that some justice. So of course that's like, oh, you hear that. Absolutely, yeah, I totally understand why you want to. I mean, maybe not kill everyone, but I understand.
You see where the
I get why you're bummed.
the turn
Yeah, exactly.
You see where the turn came from.
Exactly.
Why is this guy evil? Well, he's been just focused on this one goal this whole time, and finally it's changed him.
And that's such a small personal decision that we see affect so many other things. That I really like how that plays when that's the story used. At some point, someone decided that was too boring, and they actually did kill his wife. Maybe not. I think they undo that like every 6 months. But then, even if you take that out, a lot of times, because it's just straight up ice stuff, his motivation is often, I'm going to freeze the world to allow goodness, however he defines that for that particular issue, to reemerge.
Right.
And
That's what I think's goofy about him.
Which maybe shooting a bit high, but I think it's still that misguided. I have the ability to make the world a better place.
Talk about a form of humility, though. The guy actually is a doctor, and kind of this same discussion that we were
point.
having. But he drops the doctor moniker and goes with Mister. Like,
Wow.
he's just Mister.
How humble.
Mister,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
I did not go to college for 8 years for you to call me Mr. Freeze.
Solid point.
I am Dr. Freeze.
Hell, even Dr. Pepper gets more attention.
Exactly. If we're talking about this misguided character, Harley Quinn.
That's an interesting choice.
Harley Quinn. And I know that there's a lot of cosplay girls out there that are fanning in their,
And we support you in your efforts.
We support you in your efforts. But the character is
I agree with you,
is a misguided character. She comes in as a straight-laced, no issues doctor. Another doctor.
Damn doctor.
Another doctor. Everybody's got a degree in the Batman universe. No, it's she's a victim of circumstance. She draws the short straw of, interviewing the Joker, and the Joker uses her as a pawn, right? And bends and twists her mind and all of these other things until she finally cracks, which we all would, I think.
She has the misfortune of falling in love. Joe.
Falling in love. And, what's more misguided sometimes than love?
Nothing. Case closed.
Yeah.
Case closed.
We still have a bottle of rum. We have to keep going.
That's
That's
right.
a fair point.
That brings up what we're drinking today. Also,
yeah.
we're drinking some pineapple Bacardi,
Because we were feeling fancy.
and we're topping that off with a little Diet 7-Up.
We were hoping some of your stepmoms would come down and enjoy a little pineapple Bacardi.
That's right.
We don't want to drink it all.
If you like Pina Coladas and doing
Put the
podcasts,
top down in the Sebring and stop on down.
I want to
Yeah.
add to your point
Yeah.
about Harley Quinn, because that's an interesting choice. I hadn't thought of that one. But then you mentioned drawing the short straw, but by some accounts, she opted for that.
Oh,
yeah,
chose
she
it.
she
and
chose
so-
it
And has given
So
the
it's-
opportunity
Exactly.
to correct.
And
her
so
ways.
I think that just doubles your point in that it's misguided. Almost, she has such confidence in herself to be the one to save this person.
Right.
It's
Women.
women trying to save us all.
I know
So
he's a
you would
homicidal
almost-
maniac.
You would
but
almost
I
say
love him.
in this these misguided type characters, there's this type of hubris that leads them down this road, that thinking that, oh yes, I'm the chosen person to tackle this issue, and it ends up not being as easy as first set out to be, and that's what causes the inevitable breakdown of their psyche.
Some of the best characters are actually, I think, fall underneath this.
There's again, whether it's they misguided themselves or through circumstance like Killer Croc, you can understand that motivation.
I think
You
it's
can-
when you most relate with the characters when they're a misguided villain.
and when they truly believe what they're doing.
They could be you.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
how many of us have been so committed to an idea that at the end was kind of wrong. I mean,
It was-
whether it was
yeah.
straight up illegal or
Fruitless,
just a weird fashion
yeah.
choice, we were committed to it.
Crystal Pepsi,
Crystal
fanny
Pepsi,
packs.
We've
all been misguided.
my blonde
They're
highlights.
trying to
Your
bring it
blonde
back.
highlights. Some of your
Um,
hair is more important than others.
You're right, exactly.
Actually, well, that brings us to our next type, almost in a way, the superiority.
Because my blonde
Villain.
highlights gave me
Some,
superiority.
well, some hairs were just, you
More
know,
important.
Just
more
Your
important.
hair.
Some were golden as the sun, and others were dirty. So let's talk about this superiority type villain. Somebody who thinks that they're better than, you know, I guess we would just say Batman, because oftentimes in this universe they're trying to prove that they are one step ahead of the Caped Crusader.
Sure.
All right,
Batman's most powerful foes, I feel, fall under this category.
Adam, you know, who's this superiority villain to you?
Well, here again, I had a couple fun choices, choices that I really wanted to talk about, just because they're fun, obscure characters to bring up.
Nice.
But I ended up going with Poison Ivy, because I feel that consistently her motivations are not only that she's a superior presence, a superior, again, botanist, doctor.
Jeez.
Damn doctors.
Everybody's a doctor.
But even that she is the superior woman, and that women in general
Are
are
superior.
superior.
Are the superior? Yeah.
She's
Okay.
become, both in the comics and outside, she's become the symbol for dominant feminism
sure.
and such a strong, vibrant kind of, to the point where they've tried to make her a good guy so that they could talk about her in more positive forms. It never takes, because of course it doesn't. But consistently such an interesting character. Obviously, always drawn very appealingly, but you actually listen to the argument she's making, you go, oh, that actually kind of makes some weird
She's
kind of
not.
sense.
Yeah, she's not wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, she's kind of like the vegan that talks down to you, and by the time she's done, you're like, I feel kind of bad about my life choices.
little
Exactly.
bit,
You're
yeah.
like, no,
Yeah.
I get it that, you know, plants are important, and you know,
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I you know what? Give me the seeds.
Some of my best
I'll,
friends are plants.
I'll put a garden in the backyard. You know,
If
I'll,
you know what I mean. Sorry, I saw Justin taking a drink. I had to take a shot.
Thank you. It was close. It was close.
But no,
So, yeah,
but-
I mean,
but-
I could totally see that. You know, those elements of superiority.
That's one that definitely did not come to mind.
coming up. That's pretty solid.
But, she's always such a well-rounded character. Again, letting my favoritism show. Always when Paul Dini's at the helm, he gives her some really fun storylines, and she always has such dominance that I think she takes the superiority almost too far. That's almost always her downfall. She becomes so focused on proving that she / plants / women / whatever the theme is superior, that she overlooks something. And
I think it's
Batman
excellent that you
sneaks up.
chose a woman for that position. I'm showing my sexism right now by
Hashtag
having
feminism. Yeah.
not even considering the idea. And now that you've explained it, man, I'm fully on board.
All right. So, besides him changing your mind now.
Well, no, I'm sticking with what I said.
Oh yeah,
Because this guy's motivation.
So, yeah, who's
I mean,
who's
he
this
could fall.
fella?
He could fall under the greed in certain circumstances. But you talked about Deadshot. I'm going to go a step farther and talk about the greatest mercenary in the DC universe, and that is Deathstroke, the Terminator. Deathstroke will choose jobs solely based on the fact that they are supposed to be impossible.
Exactly.
If there is no
Right.
greater fuel to someone's ego and idea of a superiority, he embodies that. I mean, he had entered the military at the age 16, drafted into Team 7, which in the DC universe is like the premier military
Yeah,
group.
it's like SEAL Team 6.
It's beyond that.
Beyond
It's
that,
like,
yeah.
well, the whole idea between Team 7 is they are normal people that take on superpowered groups.
right.
Like that's how badass they are.
They're the containment unit
Again,
for
to prove that
yeah.
they are
Right.
the superior, despite their powers.
Exactly. Without, you know,
Yeah.
we without powers actually have power ourselves.
Right, the whole idea is they take on people with enhanced abilities.
Yes.
So you know, and in turn they soup up their people. You know, it's
Right.
it's DC's version of
super soldiers.
of the super
yeah,
soldier
sure.
thing.
Yeah.
Right. So, because everyone's got to have
And
it.
enhanced because we can't say mutant.
Yeah, and again, the idea that he's toe-to-toe with Batman, several occasions he's bested Batman. I really think the only reason he hasn't taken out Batman, like he has nearly every other target they've ever put in front of him, is because
Then he'd have nothing to do.
he enjoys the challenge.
Yeah.
Right. And again, it just to him the idea that I could kill you right now, and walks away. That's just a feather
It's a
in
game.
his
Not
cap.
only
He's
do I
just
have the
toying.
power to dominate you, I have the power to choose not to.
And not only Batman, he was in a position to kill Lex Luthor for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Something that Superman hasn't been able to accomplish.
Well, it's because of his,
there's the morality
morals.
thing,
Yeah.
but that can be said for Batman too. Lame, and it's true. He is the
power
great. When there was one of the few crossovers with the Marvel universe, he went toe to toe with Wolverine, and it went to a standstill.
Yeah.
Now, Wolverine is supposed to be arguably one of the greatest fighters in all the comic book universes, DC or Marvel, and this man went toe-to-toe with him and lived to talk about it.
Without,
I just think
without a regeneration ability.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
To me, Deathstroke, not only is he one of the more interesting and fun... It's like you open a comic book and you see Deathstroke, you're like, oh, yeah, this is going to
Shit's going to get real.
Yeah.
He's that nice
He's-
blend of it's a weird comic book visual, but you can also understand how terrifying that is.
You
Yeah.
love him because he's so badass.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the end. And that's where the superiority ends. When you see him, you know that he can go toe-to-toe with anyone in that universe and best them.
Can I
Right.
tell you one of my favorite Deathstroke takedowns?
I wish you would.
Deathstroke is approached by not only a Justice League member, but most of them.
Most of
Yeah.
it, yeah.
You see his inner monologue, and he's planning steps ahead, and he takes out the Flash, even though the Flash is moving at Flash speed, and all this different stuff. And then he pulls out a laser pointer, and you go, what's that going to do? And he just kind of flashes it off in the distance, and then you see a super close up. The Atom had shrunk down and was trying to get at him, and Deathstroke was using the light particles to bombard the Atom,
The Atom.
as a defense.
Ugh.
First of all, think about the aim.
Oh, yeah, the guy's just rad.
Second, yeah, I mean, that's just
You're thinking, is he giving a PowerPoint presentation right now?
on how I'm going to destroy you. I mean,
No.
basically,
Is he trying to distract my cats?
but he used a laser pointer to defeat the Atom, and that always tickles me.
Like, to me, he's even on a higher level than Marvel's Bullseye, who, killed prison guards with a playing card.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
But that's
this guy.
That's a
is
bar.
step
That's a
up.
bar trick compared.
Well, I don't know what bars you go to.
That's
That's,
right. Well,
why I drink at home.
That's
right?
right. I agree with both sides of these characters that you guys have tossed into the mix. But I got to say, my superiority villain, and I think always warrants discussion in the game, especially when discussing this type of character, is the Riddler.
Yeah.
The Riddler
Always
is
one of my favorite.
the Riddler is just it's all about brain power, proving that he's the smartest man in the room.
Or at least
Right.
smarter than Batman.
Yeah, right.
At least smarter than Batman. I mean, everything is a trick. Everything is a question that you have to answer, and it takes you to the next stop and all along the way. And he's just toying with you this entire time, right? And I mean, he comes off as this kind of hokey character sometimes.
He can be silly.
He can be
Silly.
silly, and that's part of his charm, I guess, or whatever.
No, I think it makes him kinda dumb.
Whatever Jim Carrey attached to him.
If we could just do away with all of those films. I
Yeah.
think
You
they made almost every character. Bane would have been silly had it not been for the reboots.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
No, but the Riddler. I mean, his sole purpose almost is to just mentally beat the Batman. It's a game of chess.
Absolutely. I don't. That's one character I don't really see fitting into any others.
in any other
Yeah.
slot really.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
there's
He's
no.
such a
He's not
specialist.
misguided.
No.
He knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really about money per se. The heists are usually part of the plan of whoever he's teaming up with. Often he's teamed up with people.
Yeah.
For
But
some
often
reason
it's because he's using them as a pawn.
he's using
for
them
some
as a
way.
pawn. So
Because, Joe, I'm going to tell you why you win this round. Because he so perfectly falls into that category, whereas my pick could fall into greed because he does jobs for money.
sure. As
And
most mercenaries do.
I feel like Adam's pick could fall under misguided because really she's not wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
She just takes
Sure.
it
He's
too
trying to make the
far.
world a better place.
She just takes it too far.
So finally, now that we've tackled these previous three types of Batman villains, we come to the final type, the chaotic type. I'm going to offer this up to Adam. I'm going to give you the opportunity to pick the obvious choice.
We all know the obvious choice. So I, of course, went with the Mad Hatter.
Great choice.
Now I struggled with this one for a little while because at some point you want to say, well, superiority, he's mind controls, the whole deal. And as a short guy, I can certainly relate to his Napoleon motivations. But
As a guy who owns hats, I get it.
I have quite the haberdashery.
I mean, that is also true. But and then you want to say, well, misguided because he's just trying to make a peaceful world for himself and all that stuff. But I think you can also make an argument for the chaos because he is so unhinged that his mind control isn't directed at any long-term goal. It isn't trying to make the world a better place. It isn't necessarily to prove that he's better. It's to shut everyone else up so that he can say, no, just do this thing because it'll be fun. Beyond that, he models himself after Lewis Carroll motifs, after the whole Alice in Wonderland thing. And that world is nothing if not chaos. If anything, he's trying to make the world the mind of Lewis Carroll, which is terrifying.
Yeah, and totally chaotic.
Right.
And totally chaotic. So
His
I'm gonna
idea
go-
of order is chaos to us.
Exactly. I like the way you put that. So I'm gonna just to not pick the obvious one. I'm gonna go with Jervis Tetch, the Mad Hatter.
All right.
And I love your idea of a character who is unhinged, and so many fall into that category. I also did not want to be obvious. Professor Hugo Strange.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay, clearly insane. You have a nut running the nut house, quite literally. The man is insane, and many storylines put him in charge of the insane asylum there. So many storylines come out of Arkham Asylum. You know, some of the best, of course.
Yeah.
What I find most disturbing, just absolutely disturbing about Hugo Strange, is his infatuation with Batman. Not even that, you know, a lot of these characters want him dead.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't think Hugo Strange has decided whether he wants him dead or he wants to have a full-on kiss on the lips.
Right.
His infatuation isn't just, this is the guy I have to best. It's, I might love you.
Right. And it's
Some of the most disturbing storylines where he takes a female mannequin and puts a Batman cowl on it and has conversations with it and eats dinner with it and professes his love for it. He knows Batman's identity. That I find,
Yeah.
you know,
And
one of
has
the
done-
few characters.
yeah.
One of, I think, two characters that truly knows
Yeah.
who Batman is and still wants to hold on to that because he loves the chaos. In private, he dresses like Batman and pretends to be Batman.
To the point where
He's
he actually
taken-
thought
but
he was Batman
he's
for a
taken-
short period of time.
Oh, and underestimated what it took physically
Yes,
to be
right,
Batman.
exactly.
I feel like any other character that I would mention, you guys didn't want to mention the obvious one, but I'm going to do it. The Joker. The Joker is chaos
It's almost as if
embodied.
that was the character that they wrote this
Yeah.
archetype off of.
Exactly. They're like, who is going to be the anti-Batman?
Right. Well, he is he's an anarchist. That's all there is to
Yeah,
it.
pure and simple.
Exactly.
Pure and simple.
Even
he's an
more so
anarchist.
than the character Anarchy.
Yeah, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Seems unnecessary.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Sees anarchy and says no.
Well,
no, not
you. Know,
you.
it
Nice
was-
try,
Like you
kid.
said, it was best
Yeah.
described in the film when it was said some men just want to
watch the world burn.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, that's how fractured a mind can become. That, you know what, I don't care anymore.
No.
I'm gonna live.
It's his only motivation.
It's he's balls to the walls. No break.
Right.
No nothing. You know, I'm just gonna run at this thing and see if I can plow through it, and take out as many people as I possibly can. You know,
Just for
it's
fun.
Just
Yeah,
for fun. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, and like we discussed
Maybe
with
boredom should be a category. I think he's just really bored.
You're just
I think
really
that's-
bored.
Well, there you go.
Maybe he needs a hobby.
He's like an eccentric billionaire.
The Dark Knight Returns. The Frank Miller bit where Batman finally comes out of retirement and
Still
the
the
Joker
greatest
has been
Batman series.
the Joker has been a model prisoner this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
He's just been sitting there because he's bored. because there's nothing for him to do.
Nothing for him to do.
Especially
And
with
then he gets
Batman.
a battering
yeah.
to the face. Well, I've got no love for Grant Morrison, but the Arkham Asylum comic, the interpretation that the Joker isn't insane, he's just super sane. He processes modern reality.
He's the
Sure.
only one who's sane.
Exactly.
Sure.
Which kind of plays into what you were
Interesting
talking
idea.
about, that he's going to run at this problem head on.
Yeah.
I think that's what I think that's a very interesting interpretation, that he's just trying to deal with reality
And in almo-
in a 100% pure way.
And in almost his way, he becomes almost that misguided character as well.
Sure.
And with a bit of superiority as well. Like,
doesn't
he's
he-
the only one who can be tasked with this thing to do.
Doesn't
so, I
he
mean,
kind of do what we all want to do once in a while?
Oh, sure.
I mean, that's where he's relatable.
Yeah.
Is when he does what seems to be insane. It's what we've all thought and held on to, because we're not insane.
Man.
Okay.
All right, well,
Anyway.
now that we're talking about,
Before we move
Oh.
on, though, I thought, because there are so many, do we all want to go around and just say the one villain we wish we could have talked about, but
Yep.
just didn't, for
All
some
right.
reason, fit
Yeah,
in?
sure.
That
Do it.
seem fair?
No, mine fit in, but I just didn't talk about it.
Nice. Well, it was my idea. I'll go first. But so there was a couple for each category that I thought, that would be a fun one, but it doesn't really quite do justice to it. But the one that I really wanted to talk about just for fun was under the superiority category. I wanted to talk about Maxi Zeus, because that's his deal. He thinks he is Zeus.
Yeah.
He's trying to remake the myth of Greek deities in Gotham. And he's such a goofy, again, unhinged, delightful character. And any conversation where you get to mention Maxi Zeus is always worth it.
Aja Rule could have fit into any one of those categories.
Sure, yeah.
Any one of them. But it may be my favorite Batman villain, and it might be the guy I want to team up my real villain with. We'll see. But any one of them, especially superiority and misguided.
Yeah.
But I think any one of them he could fit into.
No,
Yeah.
Ra's al Ghul is definitely one of those that, man, just such a, when he came on, it was immediately such a well-developed character.
And the fact that he's the other character that I know of that knows who Batman really
Yeah,
is.
exactly. And doesn't...
And he doesn't want to kill Batman because he would like Batman to be his successor.
Yes.
Right. Kind of going off of what you were saying, almost, in my opinion, another character that I feel like could have fallen in any one of these categories. And also I feel bad that we didn't mention more female villains, because there is quite.
Oh yeah. He has the best female villain. Let's be clear.
villains of that. But Catwoman.
Oh, yeah.
Catwoman
I had her down for a couple.
could be, she's a cat burglar. She steals things, falls into greed.
and they are the highest form of humor.
Misguided. Oftentimes, she's on, she could be on the right side or the wrong side of the law, depending on,
Which pays better.
what she decides to do. Chaos. She's often right in the middle of, the chaos, and almost feeds on it. You know what I mean? Like, she's trying to just, see how much she can accomplish. And finally, superiority, she goes toe-to-toe with Batman quite often.
Yeah.
Both mentally and physically.
To be fair, I think he holds back.
Yeah. Well,
It's not their toes that are touching.
all right.
What's touching?
Their faces, because the masks,
Right.
they like pad so much.
They're whiskers.
They're very concerned.
Bats don't have whiskers, you
Yeah.
silly Billy.
They're very concerned about head trauma. It's a very head trauma conscious society now.
I'm
so
sure all heroes
Yeah.
and villains are very concerned with head trauma.
There's-
Oh yes.
I'd like. That's it.
Omniscience, because you might be a chemist, but you can definitely take a look at this,
I- I-
right? Yeah.
I could.
But all right. So now that we've discussed these types of villains and kind of a plethora of different villains that could fall into those categories, let's take this into the real world. Let's talk about real life villains, how they would stand among the Batman universe. All right. So Adam, I see you've got plenty of papers in front of you.
I do. I'm a
So
professor,
let's-
so I get free prints.
Well, I work at Staples, so I get free
Fair
prints
point.
too. But
Let that be a lesson, kids. Professor, work at Staples.
Same thing.
Same perks.
Same perks.
Same perks.
all right. So who do you got for us?
All right. So I picked a man by the name of Edward Lansdale. Now this
Credit
is
for having never heard of the man.
yes. not what you would traditionally consider a villain because he fought for the military. He helped America through World War II, Vietnam, worked for the OSS before it was the CIA. By our accounts, definitely a patriot. Former director of the CIA called him one of the greatest spies in history. But I think some of his tactics, some of his motivation, and some of the flavor with which he executed orders is definitely befitting of a villain type, and is just a testament to kind of what we were hinting at, especially with the Joker. Some of these are just people that couldn't apply their skills anywhere else.
He almost wants to see how far he can go.
Yeah, he was fortunate to be in a time of war, to be in some chaotic situations, because if he was just having fun here in the civilian world, terrifying.
He'd be a serial killer.
Yeah, it's possible. Much more fun than that. So in college, he was focusing on marketing. World War II breaks out. He's recruited by the OSS, again, that's the thing that eventually becomes the CIA. Is recruited into the Philippines. That's where they put him after World War II is kind of calming down. And by most accounts, World War II, he's kind of studying Goebbels and the propaganda techniques of the Nazis, and seeing how those are applied. He takes that to the Philippines, where they're having this issue with these former communist guerrilla soldiers. They are still fighting the government, and the government that the U.S. is trying to establish and whatnot. The president of the Philippines specifically requests him to come help out after he's seated. And by choice, Lansdale says, yeah, I'll serve for a little while longer. Already doing some kind of behind-the-scenes, Black Ops kind of stuff. He's starting to say, you know what, I kind of got a flavor for this. I like selling things. I like marketing. I like writing. Turns out, doing that in a war setting, a little more engaging, a little more interesting.
As somebody in marketing, oftentimes you're trying to figure out how people work. You know, what do they buy? How do they live their lives? What do they do? What do they know? And all that. And so that might actually, I would agree that would translate very well into an interrogator.
Marketing is very super villainy to begin with.
To begin with,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. Well, it's interesting you bring up interrogation, because as he's starting to train Philippine soldiers, as he's working with them in the jungle, he's emphasizing capture missions. Don't kill, capture, because I want to interrogate them, because I want to study them, because I want to know what these guerrillas, the Huck, are motivated by. One of his Philippine soldiers decapitated an opposing soldier. So Lansdale picks up the head, puts it on a pike, and starts interrogating the decapitated head for hours. Starts yelling at it, slapping it around like you would a normal interrogation. And the soldier said, sir, I don't know if you know this, but that person is dead. He's not going to be worth interrogating. And he says, I know, that's the point. I can't interrogate a decapitated head. You need to leave them alive. From then on, no problem. Turns out seeing a man yell at a decapitated head for a couple hours does wonders for your motivation.
Seems unnerving.
Yeah.
He even did like his own version of Who's on First with it.
Yeah. Well, and again, you talk about Hugo Strange talking to the Batman
okay.
in the
Right,
mirror,
right.
That's a nice, yeah.
I can see it in the comic book reel.
Oh, yes.
I can see the panel now.
Any dead bodies, he would have painted white and the eyes made red. They would hang them up in trees so that they would look like ghosts that would follow the army around.
Scare the crap out of you.
Gruesome.
Yeah, there was Operation Eye of God. He would drop messages from the air, small leaflets. He even, and this one I want to read verbatim, he found an airplane and would have a loudspeaker from it and would fly over where he thought the enemy's encampments were. And he would have them read messages like, you, hiding down there, we see you. Yes, I mean you in Squadron 17. I mean you, Commander Saul. I mean you, Juan Santos. And you, Balkan Boy. And you, Pepe, Ramon. And Emiliano, Boro, Dario, Camilio. Baby, we know all about you. We are coming to kill you. Stay there. And now I must go while our troops are coming to attack you. To our secret friend in your ranks, I say thank you. Run and hide so you won't be killed. Sorry I can't call you by your name, but you know who I mean. Thank you and goodbye. He would just broadcast this from overhanging plains.
That's like psychological there.
He develops cyborgs.
Right, and then just throwing the idea that maybe there might be a double agent among them.
Sure.
Yeah, that's just enough to start eating at you, especially out in the heat of the jungle. And
he does this, and the coolest one though is probably the fact that he invented vampires. Maybe not
listening.
Maybe not invented, but brought them to life. There's a similar type of monster in Philippine folklore called an aswang, I believe is how you pronounce it. And instead of fangs, it's like a tongue. He would have small little platoons or whatever follow the Huck around, and last person in line, just take them. 2 puncture holes in the neck. Hang them upside down, drain all the blood. Then throw the body back where they found it. So when the Huck came back to look for their friend, we're being followed by vampires.
We're being followed, yeah.
That's a bummer.
They did this time and time again to where many of the Huck laid down their weapons and was like, no, we're not fighting vampires.
Yeah.
They were convinced
thanks.
Vampires were following them.
That's some bad stuff, man. Clearly an evil mastermind.
Yes. Fortunately, we had a thing to direct him at. He was focused on defeating communists. Imagine if the communists weren't there to distract him.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, a little crazy. I tell you, I could speak all day on my pick. I love this pick, but I will try to keep this brief. I will ask you to just to look at a photograph of Rasputin. Look at the man's photograph and tell me that his cold, dead eyes don't give you chills.
Right.
Oh, yes.
It's still, I feel like, undecided whether he was a tragic character or truly an evil man. Russians felt that he was taking the Tsar in the wrong place, and which ultimately led to his demise, or so we think.
Nah.
The thing with Rasputin, along with being a Russian peasant and a mystic faith healer, he was crazy hard to kill. I'll touch on that. You see, he was never truly a monk or a priest of any kind. He actually had the title the Mad Monk, which would make for great title in a comic book.
Absolutely.
Sure.
He believed he could heal people. He worked on the Tsar's child, and they thought to great effect. He was a hemophiliac, which they didn't realize at the time. And every time he was in contact with the child would make a recovery. So they trusted every word that came out of the man's mouth, and he became not just a spiritual advisor, but a political advisor, which made him a very dangerous man. And one thing that he parallels with all the great Batman villains is that he's a shadowy figure that no one can quite figure out. But it comes very clear to the public that the man loves to party.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
Right? Here's the thing about Rasputin, and I'm not going to get hung up on truth, because a lot of the details about Rasputin's death, about his life, a lot of them are hearsay, a lot of them are legend, but I think that's totally appropriate for someone who's going to be in a fictional comic book.
Absolutely.
Okay? So let's just delve into his life a little bit. Along with him claiming to be able to heal people through spirituality and the occult, he belonged to a religious sect who believed that if you sin together, you can be saved together. And this was solely to fuel the man's orgies.
Sure.
If we get together on a Saturday night and have a good old time, Sunday, when we ask for forgiveness, we'll ask for it together. I think that's such a creative idea.
Well, that's just that's a
Sin
nice.
together.
It's also
together.
It's a nice
also
community.
Right.
You know,
it is rumored that a museum in St. Petersburg owns his genitalia, which is quite sizable, making him quite popular with the sinning sect. He was quite the partier, especially later on when he was more prolific and recognized throughout Russia as being a powerful man. So let's get right to the quick and what's so interesting about the man and why I think he might have known of a Lazarus pit of his own.
Solid.
Okay.
So it comes time that there's some people that are just disgusted by Rasputin. So they invite him to a party, knowing that the dude loves to party, right? There's actresses there, there's beautiful women, There's prominent men. They take treats and they lace them with arsenic because he had a sweet tooth, as I do. And he
As we all
loved
do,
dessert
yeah.
wines, as I do.
Sure.
And they also poisoned that. And after the man consumed a dubious amount of treats, he did not die, much to their chagrin. So at that point, they decided we need to expedite this idea. They actually built a layer in the basement solely for the execution of Rasputin. They lined all the floors with rugs because they thought this might get messy. They had nice chairs laid out. They played
So that you could sit
they played
and watch?
Yankee,
Yeah.
Yankee Doodle Dandy as he entered the room. Not sure why, but that's kind of something I have stuck in my head. So from across the room, they shoot him, and it doesn't do the job. A couple minutes later, he's stirring. He's starting to get up. Oh, crap. So at this point, they shoot him point-blank range in the head. We think we got him dead. Thank goodness. They roll him up in one of the many rugs. They take him down to the river. Those who don't know much about Russia, in the winter, it's cold.
It's cold, yeah.
And they find an open spot in the river that they're going to throw him in and dispose of the body. Here's the crazy part. According to legend...
none
we're
of
not
this-
done yet.
we're not done with
the
the crazy.
poison
It gets
didn't
better,
kill the
yeah.
man, and the first gunshot didn't kill the man. Apparently, the second gunshot may not have killed the man. When they discovered his body on the banks of this river, he had ice underneath his fingernails.
Yep.
Which means he was probably trying to claw his way through the ice. Holy smokes, what does it take to kill Rasputin? This is, of course, after he was they also tried to kill him a few years before that, when a woman stabbed him in the stomach, and he went, "What is this stabbing about?" He lived through that after a couple of weeks of chilling, came back with a full recovery. And the fact that he had such a huge influence over a monarchy, I think, is disturbing. It was disturbing to the public, which is why they set out to kill him. But I mean, just the sole appearance of the man is unnerving.
Yes.
And there's so much legend that follows him, whether it's true or not. And the funny thing about it is so much of it seems to be perpetuated by him while in a drunken state somewhere.
Sure. Right.
But such an odd character. And I could totally see him going toe-to-toe. Matter of fact, I would love an entire storyline, much like Gotham by Gaslight.
Yeah, which is
where
beautiful.
Batman, the great detective, has to really figure out what's true and what's not.
Yeah.
While in St. Petersburg.
Yeah,
Or something
Who
like
is this
those
man?
nature. Like,
Where's
who
he
is this
come
man
from?
and
And
what
how-
influence does he truly have?
How do we,
Because there's some
take
that
him
say
down,
that
yeah.
World War I would not have taken the direction it had without Rasputin.
Right.
And there's others that say that his influence was greatly exaggerated. But no matter how you slice it, the man was crazy strange and
Yeah.
so intriguing and would have made a fantastic DC villain.
Oh,
All right.
absolutely.
All right, I like your two picks, and
that-
Justin started to tiptoe into the realm of where my real life villain comes from, and the whole beauty, I guess in some ways, of his existence is just that he or possibly she is shrouded in mystery.
I like that.
All right, and I think this character would definitely fall within the Batman universe as a villain almost seamlessly, and that is the Zodiac Killer.
Oh, I like it.
Okay, sure.
Okay, this is a person who oftentimes saw themselves as superior to the police force, trying to prove that they were smarter, faster, quicker, ahead of the game. They also definitely believed in breeding chaos. All right, I mean, when this character was at large, people didn't know who he was, who she was, where they were going to strike next. They told people to stay inside after it got dark. They told you not to go out anywhere alone. Always have somebody with you.
Sounds like a great matchup for
somebody
Batman.
who's somebody, and it's that chaos that this character is breeding. And not only that, but they don't really know the amount of kills that this person may have had, because in the chaos there were so many other people who were copycats, who were trying to get away with their own murders and just blaming it on this person, which oftentimes we see in the Batman universe. If there's one really bad person just causing chaos, somebody might try to kind of shovel their evil onto that person, be like, oh, well, I didn't kill my wife. The Joker came in.
Leave a laughing
And,
fish next to the body, you're in.
Bada bing,
Exactly.
bada
Bada bing, bada boom. You put some weird letter with, strange symbols on it. Oh,
boom.
there was a
Question mark
Zodiac
after
killer.
Whatever happened, it was the
Riddler.
Riddler.
It was the Riddler and all that. So this character of the Zodiac killer is somebody that I think falls perfectly within the Batman world because, again, Batman is that detective.
Right. I think I see a great miniseries where the world's greatest detective
Takes
has to solve
on,
this crime.
and there's also a hubris that you would always see in the Zodiac killer because of all these letters that would get sent to the police or sent to
Tempting you
sent
to
to the
solve
press
this.
saying, here's a puzzle, figure it out.
Sure seems to
You-
play off the superiority.
It's
in-
the superior, but also that chaos.
Oh, sure,
And not only that, but there are also some rumors where they say that the Zodiac killer may have been somebody involved with law enforcement
Sure.
and all that. And so you got to think of that idea that if there's somebody involved in law enforcement, they started off wanting to possibly do the right thing,
Sure.
and then all of a sudden you're somebody you
So you're
get
leaning
twisted
on-
morals and
you're
all
leaning
this
on
other stuff,
misguided maybe a
and you
little bit,
almost
huh?
get to this era of misguided. You don't know because again, all of that mystery is there, but there's that possibility that exists. So yeah, I got to go with the Zodiac killer being
like
almost a perfect example of a real life villain that could just fall right into the Batman canon.
If I can
Nice.
piggyback on that idea, my number 2 choice was Pogo the Clown,
Oh, sure.
Mr. John Wayne Gacy Jr.
Sure.
Yeah,
Keep things local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be like if
The
you were
great
playing
state of
Double
Illinois.
Dragon,
Yeah.
the henchman before you got to the Joker might be Pogo the Clown.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And right, clearly he's no physical match for the Batman. Clearly.
right.
But how many of those characters does Batman have to battle that toe-to-toe with Batman, they can't handle him physically?
Right.
Right.
But it's the detective in Batman that has to
Yes.
figure these things out. I mean, you're talking about someone who murdered at least 33 teenage boys and young men. I mean,
That's not
that's
nothing.
unnerving. This is
Yeah.
more of the adult end of comic.
Yeah,
you know,
right,
where
right.
the things get a little bit darker. You're going to buy this
This is
in
the
a
Frank Miller
hardcover.
version.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, again, I would love to see him in late 70s Cook County solving these
Yeah.
crimes. You know what I mean?
That would be
I want to
great.
see that Batman
That'd be pretty
miniseries.
Yeah, that I mean
27
that,
victims
say
in the
that-
crawl
that-
space of his home.
Yeah, right.
I want to see Batman go into the crawl space.
You know
Right.
what? Another,
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I wanted it to be Batman that called it out.
and you know what? Jumping off of that whole thing about talking local, kind of Illinois-based Chicago
Sure.
style or what? Chicago,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of like H.H.
H.
Holmes.
Holmes. Yeah, that was one of my.
I
that was
mean,
on my
Murder
list.
House, baby.
The Murder
Yeah,
House,
absolutely.
man.
Can you
Can you
again,
imagine Batman
piggybacking
making
on
his
that
way
Batman
through
by
the murder
Gaslight
hotel?
thing?
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
see him World Fair going to Chicago?
That's absolutely.
People are
He
falling
checks
off.
into the
people
murder
are
house?
people
Yeah,
are
yeah.
falling off the map.
If
you
you're
know
listening,
where are all
DC,
these people going?
These ideas are cheap.
That's right.
we take liquor as payment.
That's
Yeah.
right. If you've got
Speaking
another
of liquor,
bottle
you
of,
nearly
of
wiped out the
Bacardi pineapple, yeah.
Yeah.
right.
None of your mothers helped.
Yeah, none of your mother's helps.
So now that we've talked about these Batman villains as well as these real life villains that would we believe would work within the Batman universe, let's talk about team up. Let's end this thing with a bang. Who is your real life villain teaming up with, and what's their heist? What's their goal that they're trying to achieve? Justin, let's start it off with you.
Well, if I'm taking Rasputin, I'm going to team him up with someone like Ra's al Ghul, and I'm going to make him overthrow whatever political system is running Gotham City, because that's what the man did. I mean, he got in the ear of powerful people, and likewise with my Batman villain. I'm not sure if like I said, I could put Rasputin in any one of those categories at some point. The man, he wanted notoriety. He wanted to be famous. I think that falls under the greed category. Chaos, I think, lends to just his insanity. You don't get the mad monk without being a little unhinged.
Sure.
Superiority, I feel like he believed that he could heal you.
Absolutely.
I think he thought he was spiritually superior to you. A lot of what it was once said about Rasputin that you could not hear his voice and forget it. That's a pretty badass thing to be
right.
said about you.
As all three of us being speech coaches, we know.
And the misguided, the man thought he was speaking the word of God.
Yeah.
Sure.
And if that's
Is
not
there
misguided,
anything more dangerous?
Right. So, and not only that, but he had the ear of powerful people.
Yeah.
So that's probably the direction I would go with that. If I picked Pogo the Clown, I think the obvious choice would be the Joker.
Yeah, Sure.
just
And like
for
I
fun.
said, he'd be like
Like
he'd be the
top
henchman before
henchman.
you fought the Joker.
Sure.
So like,
Adam, who's your team up?
all right. So for Lansdale, I'm actually gonna go with my runner up for the Chaos slot, the Scarecrow.
Okay. The mental aspect.
The mental
okay.
aspect. I feel the Scarecrow could, again, another doctor.
Perfect.
And he's like the civilian chemical expert to Lansdale's military genius.
Okay.
So we've got military and private sector converging, and the Scarecrow is always about commanding fear, dominating fear. He's not really usually about pulling any kind of particular heist or
like any monetary goal
yeah,
or
it's
anything.
more about
It's more intellectual.
he is the master of fear, and that's what he's looking to prove. Teaming up with a guy like Lansdale, who's really just a frat boy on acid in terms of the pranks, would really, I think, back him. And he's got military guidance for the Scarecrow, so you keep him contained. I think that would be a very interesting matchup. You have Lansdale, oddly, is the sane one in this one, to keep the Scarecrow focused. Those two minds together.
But both are masters of psychological.
Absolutely. And
Although frat boy
yeah.
on acid sounds more like a Spider-Man villain. Because they
That's
are
true.
lame.
That's true.
It might be
Right.
frat boy on roller skates. But I
Let's say that's pretty much what Venom is, right?
I like it. All right, fair point. But I think their heist is similar to Justin's in that they take note of wherever Lansdale has been posted, whether it be the Philippines or Gotham City, and say, hey, there's this weird criminal element that's dominating the populace, corrupting the government, hijacking elections, which is something Lansdale, again, has familiarity
experience,
with.
sure.
We'd like you to stop that. And then before you know it, there's rumors of vampires and snakes coming out of the walls and people's face
Spiders
melting,
crawling out of your eyeballs, and yeah.
and almost no casualties. With both of these guys, like you said, it's almost more important that we get into their minds. We only need a handful of bodies to convince you that there are vampires around. We only need a couple names to convince you that we know exactly who you are and where you are.
Right. If I point a gun at you, you're going to be scared for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But if I make you think that I've got guns all over the place,
Oh, yeah.
you're going to be, complacent the entire time. So yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
A formidable team up.
Okay. I like both where you guys are going, and I'm kind of going in a similar direction almost, because I like that both of you, it's not really the bank heist. Because I think for a lot of these characters, often, except for a few, the bank heist is just something that's a distraction, or just
foreplay.
or just part of something that pays for the end goal. So when I team up the Zodiac Killer, I'm not teaming them up with somebody and they're not going to steal the crown jewels or something like that. I'm going to team up the Zodiac Killer with one of my actual picks, the Riddler.
Nice.
Because I feel like both of these characters are just playing games.
Sure.
It's all about proving that you are superior, both physically and mentally, above the rest, especially the Batman. All right, because again, he's seen as Batman to all these other villains. He's that brass ring that you strive to overcome. And so I think that these two working together, creating puzzles, tricking you to go this way when, they're really over here, accomplishing all of the goals that they've set out for themselves without you feeling that you know what's happening around you. I think that these two pair up really well.
I also like the image that popped into my mind is like one of them gets a coded message but it's almost like a love note. Hey, I hear you're into puzzles.
That's funny because the image that popped in my mind is the two of them completing an actual puzzle at a table.
I love it. Oddly, both
Like
of
Riddler,
these
you do
things,
the edges.
Yeah.
And I'll get the middle.
both of these things
You
I
do
do
the
with my
edges.
wife. We
I do that with
we do puzzles
the
together,
girlfriend
and I send her
do
coded
puzzles
messages
as well. But yeah.
Anyway, I don't know where to go over there, but fun.
I did, but I wanted to keep it PG.
It's I don't know. We're
Yeah,
getting-
some delightful team ups. Villainy in the real world.
All right. Well,
So geeky.
so
so
geeky
drunk.
and so drinky.
So drunk.
All right. Well, that's going to bring it to a close. So, a few things to throw out there into the universe. What villains did we not talk about? What villains do you think fit into these 4 categories? Let us
How
know.
many of you are evil
How many of
Yeah.
you are evil doctors or have
Uh,
some sort of evil credential? And also, what are some real life villains that you've heard about or like to talk about or are intrigued by? And how would they mesh well with the Batman villains that you've been thinking about as well? So let us know. Talk about it in the comments or whatever. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. I've been Joe Schemmel.
I'm usually Adam Modero.
And I'm always Justin Pash.